Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with not quite a late night movie review, but a deep into the sickness movie review. I'm contending with something that's probably the flu, and so this is, it's not late at night. It's night, but not late at night. But I'm in a similar type of state, so I decided to do a review of Miracle Fighters, a 1982 film directed by Yuen Woo-Ping. The reason why I chose to do this one is I'm going to be doing a review of the Thousand Faces of Dunjia, and I wanted to give that some context. So I'm going to be doing a review of some of the movies from this series because the Thousand Faces of Dunjia is supposed to be a remake of Miracle Fighters and the films that belong to the Miracle Fighters series. So I'm going to be doing these, and then when I've decided we've done enough of them, I will do the review of the Thousand Faces of Dunja. I've already seen that. I'm going to watch it again before I do my final review, but I'm hoping to provide some kind of context here, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to review these. So anyways, in this movie, a character named Ko Hung is an official in the Qing dynasty, and the emperor commands him to kill his wife because he's violated the Manchu Han marriage laws, where I think his wife is a Han and he's a Manchu, and tells him to kill her, and he refuses, and so he brings in his Taoist assassins led by Sorcerer Bat, and tries to finish him off with what at first looks like a spirited wine vessel or something. We learn later that this is something much more specific, but it's basically a person inside of a clay wine vessel. Their arms and their legs stick out of it almost like a turtle. And there's a lengthy sort of fight sequence, and Ko Hung kidnaps the prince and escapes with him. So that he can have sort of, an ace up his sleeve. And he accidentally kills the prince as he's escaping. And he ends up finding a replacement who he names Shu Khan. And he rears the replacement, trying to hide in obscurity. But eventually, Sorcerer Bat and his men track him down, largely due to a mistake that he makes himself. And he's killed. And then Shu Khan is left on his own, and he ends up falling under the tutelage of an old man and woman who are sort of like Taoist magic practitioners. The old man and woman are played by Lung Kar-yan and Yuan Chung-yan, and Lung Kar-yan you'll recognize is sometimes Beardy is what he's called. And so he's kind of unrecognizable in this role with all the makeup. You might not realize who it is at first. And so they sort of train him. There's an extended sort of sequence around this, and eventually they have to contend with Sorcerer Bat. And there's also this looming tournament where the sorcerers are all going to gather in Demon City for the supreme title, and eventually what ends up happening is the movie culminates at the tournament where Shu Khan ends up fighting with Sorcerer Bat for the title, and there's a lot in between. I'm just sort of getting to the heart of the story here, and yeah, so that's the movie. It's the basic overview. Again, this is a kind of film where it's often described as a Mole Tao movie, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but basically it's a type of comedy that's often associated with guys like Stephen Chow, and it's sort of got slapstick and ridiculousness and anachronisms and all these things, and this film kind of fits the bill for that. It's really off the wall. It's got a lot of really great martial arts. But what's really captivating about it are the sort of surprising visual effects from the kind of magic that's being performed, and the way that the movie decides to go. It sort of opts for a style of on-screen magic that really feels like real magic. It feels like magic you might see at a magic show, and I think that's what really makes the movie work. Because if it were purely special effects, and there are special effects in this, but if it were purely special effects, then it wouldn't be as astounding. And one of the things that makes it so fun to watch is that it's like being at a magic show. It's like watching a magic show with kung fu in it. That's kind of how the movie feels. And so I think again, the movie, it's kind of clunky in the beginning. Like the early phases of the movie are little bit choppy in places, and I don't think that the overall story isn't all that important. It's really more about the sort of sequences of events that it leads to. There's a bunch of scenes that are just prolonged moments that are entertaining, and that's really what the movie is kind of about. So the tournament scene is its own thing. There's a number of sequences with Shu Khan and the old man and the old woman, and they're just things like that. So it's not like you think back and you have this this story at the end of it that's the focus. It's really more about the characters, the sort of the magical kung fu and the comedy. That's really sort of what the movie's about, and the story's sort of just a reason for all that stuff to take place. So I again, this is a kind of film where I like it, but I think a lot of people, I'm hesitant to just say go out and watch it, because it's the type of movie where it's really gonna depend on your personality how you react to this film. It's kind of a film that's, I don't know, it's a little bit in the style of like older of the older Yuen Woo-Ping films. So like Snake in the Eagle's Shadow type stuff. And so I feel like it's the kind of film where again, it's really more about all of these things that he wants to do rather than the story itself. And so you kind of have to be there for those things. And if you're there for those things, you'll enjoy the movie. If you're there for the story, you might not enjoy the film. So that's how I would describe it to people. And again, I think that so some of the standout things in this film, number one, the wine vessel character. I don't know what the appropriate thing to call this character is, but basically it's a person who's apparently been raised inside of a wine vessel, of a clay wine vessel, and been fed medicine that sort of takes control of their minds and affects their skin. So it looks like somebody with white makeup on and a really sort of weird face, and it's kind of like an acrobat routine inside this clay vessel, and this is just one of the minions of Sorcerer Bat. But this character kind of gets developed and has a lot of interesting moments, particularly in a sequence with Shu Khan where the wine vessel character laments being trapped in this wine vessel and wants to get out when it realizes what's going on with it. It sees its reflection and begins to understand what's going on. And I don't know, I just think it's a really memorable character, and it's kind of a moving character too, as ridiculous as it is. And so, that's one of the very memorable scenes. There's another scene that is, I think, hysterical, and it could only occur in a movie like this, where you have the Shu Khan and the old man are fighting are fighting Sorcerer Bat, and they do this routine where it's sort of like a stage show thing where Shu Khan gets up on a table and suddenly he's like a little mini, like there's like puppetry involved, and it's sort of like his head on top of a miniature body, and they're doing kung fu with Sorcerer Bat. It just looks really amusing. It's a really great scene, and there's a lot of scenes like that. I think what I like about the kung fu magic in this movie is it's always very surprising. So you just especially in the tournament scene, where you just have all these things happening and you don't know what's going to happen next. And again, it feels like you're at a magic show. It's kind of it's not you don't feel like you're watching special effects. You feel like you're watching skilled practitioners of stage magic. And again, there are special effects in this film, but that's just the effect that the movie has is the inventiveness and just how they do things is surprising and fun. And again, I do have to emphasize the movie does kind of, it's not like a steady even pace the whole way through. There'll be some moments where it's like they're kind of lingering on a scene, and it can feel a little bit uneven due to that. But stick around for the kung fu magic, and you won't be disappointed. And that's really the thing to focus on. And also the fighting. The fighting itself is quite perfect. I think that this is really top notch fight choreography and fight performances in most of the cases, and they squeeze a lot of comedy out of it. But if you're paying too much attention to the comedy, you can miss the physical performances, which are really good. So again, it's the name of the movie is Miracle Fighters, and I'm talking about it because the Thousand Faces of Dunjia is purportedly a remake of this, and so I wanted to provide some context before I get to that review. I was going to originally do a late night review about a week ago of that, and I decided that I know I'll probably when I have time do this kind of a review where I lead up to it, and so that's sort of what's going on here. And again, the characters are it's a funny movie, funny characters. I will say that the Lung Kar Yan character really takes a while to grow. Well, it took a while to grow on me. Maybe other people won't have that reaction, but something about the makeup, once he and the old lady were really part of the movie, I did start to grow on them. But when they first appeared, something about the way that they were presented just kind of felt a little bit, I don't know, just it was a little bit hard for me to just embrace them as characters right away. But again, by the end, they really did win me over. And yeah, so this is a film by Yuen Woo-Ping. It's a 1982 release, and it's a Harvest film. And what I would say, I'm not very good at sort of the grading and the recommending. I don't like leading people astray. So what I would say is this is, watch this movie if you want to see like kung fu magic and you're not too concerned about story and you're not too concerned about pacing. You don't mind there being lulls before you get to these really cool, funny moments. And by the end it gets really off the wall. Like I mean, there's some really surprising stuff by the end of this movie, and even just the fact that it ends at this grand tournament is sort of surprising. So I would I would recommend it to people who are in it for that. And I would also say this is the kind of movie that probably benefits strongly from a late night viewing if you can do it. It's that sort of a movie. So again, it's Miracle Fighters, and I think you should be able to obtain this one. It might be tricky, but I think you should be able to get it in DVD. I haven't seen it on any streaming services that I'm aware of, so unfortunately, this is one where if you do want to see it, you'll have to buy it or find a place where you can rent it if there's still a store around you that does that sort of thing. But again, I would say if you liked the movie Snake in the Eagle's Shadow, this isn't like that movie, but if you like that movie, it's kind of got that kind of a pacing going on. It's that kind of a kung fu movie. I would say maybe give this one a shot, especially if you want to see some interesting stage magic and kung fu sort of combined together. So again, I'll be back on again. I'm going to be doing. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing. I might just do like one of the other movies and then go right into Thousand Faces of Dunjia. But we'll see. And this Friday we're going to be on with Curse of the Golden Flower. And again, I do apologize. I'm sick, so if I mispronounced anything or got foggy, I apologize. But we'll be back on with Curse of the Golden Flower, and we're gonna, again, I'm trying to gather up some questions and thoughts from people before we do these Friday reviews on or discussions on Wuxia Weekend. But number one of the things I do want to know from people is whether they regard Curse of the Golden Flower as a Wuxia movie. We're gonna talk about that, and so I do wanna bring that up. I should say Wuxia Weekend. We're called Wuxia Weekend it's like 80% wuxia. We do other things. So, we do, modern Hong Kong action movies. We do, basic kung fu movies. We do period movies. And so, it's not always going to be wuxia, but 80% of the time it'll probably be wuxia. So, all right, I will be back on, and I will talk to you later.